Hi, my name's Dee, your Professor of Woo Woo, and welcome to Sunchild Tarot. And welcome to my special guest and good friend, Barbara Bonvalot. How are you doing, Barbara?
Okay, yeah, I'm doing fine. Thanks.
Now, this is a video that we've discussed on and off for a good few months. We've both got up on our soapboxes and had a quick rage against the skies on various issues, but we're here today to discuss the obvious existence and the pluses and minuses, or more to the point, the minuses and the pluses of opinion and bias within the act of giving a reading. Now, we're going to be talking mainly astrology, but obviously my background's tarot, so there's going to be, you know, that to and from. But let's start with what we were just discussing before we started filming, Barbara. Can we, as an astrologer or a tarot reader or any form of diviner, give a reading where opinion and bias don't affect how we communicate that reading?
I mean, for me, the obvious answer is no. But the thing is, how intensely are my beliefs being challenged in a certain situation, and how intensely am I going to react to that? Because I can be neutral to a point and just accept and not putting my beliefs and my opinion into the talk up to a certain point. You know, when I don't know, if somebody says, oh, and by the way, I'm thinking about murdering someone, what you see in the what you see in the planets. I mean, that's not I'm going to have to say something, right? It's going to be really totally against my values, and I'm going to have to say something.
There might be reason to issue a safeguarding alert in that circumstance.
Yeah, I'm going to an extreme example here, just to I have given readings where, and yeah, again, I'm talking about astrology, where the person was manifesting values, or at least actions that would not have been acceptable to me if I was in another context with a friend or with a group. But because it was a consultation, and the consultation is for the client, I did not manifest. It was not for me to say something, and it's just. But yeah, it's very
so
difficult.
You're saying there's a difference between, for the astrology side of things, between the client consultation and, say, giving a more mundane astrology forecast, where you're not speaking to one person, you're speaking to, well, in my case, dozens, or certain other astrologers' cases, thousands of people. You know, there's
yeah, for me, if I am doing a reading, I'm talking about the life of that person, the context of that person. And it's easy for me to leave my opinions aside, as long as they are not intensely challenged. If I'm talking about something, if I'm giving a class or a talk, or talking about some more mundane issues, or it's inevitable that that my opinion comes through. And I've seen other astrologers trying to make neutral analysis of mundane transits, and their opinion was shining through. You know, it's like it was very obvious what they thought, what they believed, which side, if I can put it like that, they were on. And when that happens, I think it's so much preferable that you just say, that you assume, that you own your perspective. This is where I come from, you know, and I think it's about honesty, actually, you know, just saying.
So you're seeing where the bias is more likely to affect is, like you say, lectures, giving people new tools for interpretation, like when you're teaching students, or mundane forecasts?
For me, yes. For me, yes. I
Yeah.
don't know about other astrologers, if they're, maybe my bias, I was just thinking about readings where I might have my bias might have come through, but more toward not so much about my deepest values, but more my emotional bias about certain situations. And it's, you know, like, yeah, that's not acceptable. What are you doing? You know, that is not acceptable in a relationship, you know. Yeah, but I think, but it's easier for me to be more not transparent in that sense, but to be more neutral within a reading than in a class. Or in a class, it's also relatively easy. It depends on what we're talking about, I think.
So again, it's horses for courses. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, when I've done the cards, people have seen me on this channel. I remember there was at least one, if not 2 or 3 occasions, where I've seen something in the cards and I'm saying, the cards are saying, do this. Myself, I think that's a horrible idea. My own, if you want the advice of D the person, don't do it. Don't do it at all. I think that's awful. But the cards are saying, go in this direction. Now, you might be hearing it in a different way to what I'm hearing it, but tarot is this is where tarot and astrology, or a lot of divination forms in astrology, part ways, isn't it? Because with the tarot and whatever, there's a huge intuitive element that you open your mouth and the words fall out. If you're acting as, like we used the phrase earlier, a clear channel. But with astrology, there's reading the symbols and there's that oracular intuitive aspect to it. But it is really hard sometimes to go, oh yeah, my political leanings are showing there, or my bias is showing there, or my trauma is showing there. That, because there's another one where things can get involved, isn't there?
Again, for me, it's, well, first, to what we were saying, I in an astrology reading, what I would say would be more like, either you turn left or you turn right. This is the energy that's going to be ahead, waiting for that is ahead, waiting for you. And so I wouldn't, say do this or do that. So, but yeah, you were talking about the trauma biases that come from trauma or political leanings. For me, it's easier to stay out of, to not put my social political views into a reading than my emotional trauma experiences, perspectives into that reading. Yeah.
I mean, now is an ideal time to discuss this, because we've got so many, and I'm going to use the term, not astrologers or tarot readers here, but content creators. We've got, because they are putting their wares onto YouTube and onto all the other sites. And yeah, their bias is showing. There's, the world's very much divided at the moment between the pro and the anti-vaxxers. There's a number of astrologers that I keep hearing where they are showing their opinion about do not have the vaccine, which I find utterly illogical. I'm well set against it. Have the vaccine. You are showing care for the people around you. And there are people saying, because it's a government or because it's an expert that's saying have a vaccine, it's impinging on your sovereignty. And I call BS on that, because I used my sovereignty to decide to take the vaccine to protect those people around me as well as myself. And I find that there's so many, the biases with the help of the Facebook algorithm and the YouTube algorithm and what have you, the extremes from one side or the other are getting more and more pronounced in society. And there's so many people that, rather than just discussing what is the nature of sovereignty and how you can choose to take the vaccine and keep your sovereignty, or choose to not take the vaccine and keep your sovereignty, or you can abandon your sovereignty by taking either choice at the same time. You could be swept away by an anti-vax crowd and go, okay, yeah, I'll listen to you, or swept away by the vaccine crowd, which I think is the right one, because there's like science, you know, science is there. But you can make that choice, which is an exercise of your own sovereignty, or you can decide to just go along with what the majority of people in your circle are telling you. And that is not exercising your sovereignty. That is not making a decision. But either choice, and yes, I am criticizing anti-vaxxers, but what I'm more think that the role of the astrologer or the reader is to criticize or point out where somebody is not actually taking their sovereignty. That's the issue. Yes. And that's the issue we should stick to, and not go out. And I shouldn't be, it's the scientist's job to go out and convince people to take the vaccine. I agree with them. I'm on that camp. And I don't think it's the astrologer's job to take the anti-vax campaigners' role. We need to be talking about the more fundamental issues of, are you exercising your sovereignty, or are you surrendering it? And you can use it or surrender it with either choice, with any choice. It's about what's going on inside you. And I've been terrified by the amount of videos that I've seen where they're talking about, oh my God, you've got to stick this liquid in your veins to get anywhere. Yes, yes, you have. And what's wrong with that? Because there's also an element of, you summed it up earlier, collective responsibility, collective freedom. Do you want to expand on what you were saying earlier about collective freedom?
Yeah, because I see people talking a lot about freedom and just throwing the word around. And when what they were actually talking about on a more superficial level is individual freedom. Mm-hmm. So, and then the question would be, okay, but what is individual freedom when there isn't, when it's not when there isn't, but when you're not living a collective freedom, you have to understand what the value means for the collective. What means for a collective to be free? That means that everybody in that collective has freedom, and then what is freedom? And for me, freedom has to do with a bunch of other things, which is access to food, housing, access to education, health, and that has to be there for the collective as a whole, accessible to everybody. When you're talking about individual freedom and trying to protect this individual freedom to the price of this collective freedom, like, okay, I am free because I choose not to take the vaccine. Okay, but your choice is impacting other people, the collective choice to be healthy. You know, your freedom not to take the vaccine is impacting other people's choices and just right to be healthy, you know, and not understood. But yeah, this goes back to, or not back, but to another thing, which is people don't actually understand the science. How do vaccines work? And that is a whole other thing. I'm not going to explain that here.
Yeah, that's not our place here.
Yeah. So there is this first level of individual freedom versus collective freedom, because your individual freedom is nothing if that individual freedom does not does not include collective freedom. You know, it can't work like that. And then there is another thing, which is, I think, when people talk about freedom, my freedom, you know, they're actually talking about privilege. They're not talking about freedom. Oh, the freedom to go to a restaurant. Oh, the freedom to go to the movies. Really? I mean, is that freedom, or is that a privilege that you don't get to use when you're not protecting everybody else's freedom? You know, this is and yeah, I was going somewhere now, but yeah, that those are this different things. You know, privilege, freedom, individual freedom, collective freedom. What are we talking about, really? You know.
That, I mean, there's numerous points I want to make on that, because there's a saying in the States: your rights end at your nose. Because I can rail against the fates, saying my freedom, but if me exercising my freedom is impinging on somebody else's freedom, how is that promoting a general freedom?
That is not freedom. That is that in Portugal there's a saying that my freedom ends where yours begins, and I think it's so silly. It's so stupid. I hate that saying, because that is not freedom. That is privilege.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, then you're talking about privilege. You're not talking about freedom. You know, so this thing, oh, my freedom and your freedom, and they both clash, and okay, that's not freedom. That's not what he's talking about.
There's one thing that has worried me in the New Age movement, and I've discussed this in on my show before, because when people are saying, "Oh, detach from the world's problems around you,"
ooh.
now there's let it all carry on and just detach, but they seem, when they say detach, they seem to be saying ignore. Now, it's fine to be detached. Yes, it's fine to be detached in that Zen Buddhist way of, I'm going to try for this, and if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't happen, it's okay, I tried for it. That's one form of detachment. But aren't we supposed to be here to make the world a better place? Isn't that what we've all been generally brought up to believe? Sometimes that means working on yourself, absolutely. And sometimes it means going down and helping out at the local soup kitchen, or making sure that people have freedoms and rights under the law, i.e. you campaign, you get an act of parliament or whatever passed, or at least discussed, you start the discussion, you campaign to put pressure to make this decision come into a real thing. And there seems to be this mix-up between, oh, well, the corporations rule everything and they're evil, so therefore you don't try and do anything. Is that freedom, not doing anything?
Yeah. And then we could ask along those lines, isn't that what the corporations want you to believe?
Yes.
I mean, because it is so. I was just remembering this thing, oh gosh, the trial of this German official in Israel, the one that Anna Haren talks about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. Forgot. But yeah, so his excuse, he was a sun in Pisces. His excuse was, I was just following orders. Like, who am I? I was just following orders. And yeah, this detaching yourself from judgment, not wanting to take sides, not wanting to choose right from wrong. I mean, that is exactly what we have to do. That is exactly what we have to what we are here for. It's like just use our judgment to tell apart right from wrong. And it's important that with our best judgment, with our best beliefs, like, didn't sound right, best beliefs, but whatever.
I know you mean. Highest.
Just choose. I mean, if you're not choosing, you're just taking, somebody else said that, I don't remember who, you're just taking the side of the oppressor, because you're just maintaining the status quo. And so this detachment thing, that is nothing but just not my problem, and so not going to bother.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because judgment has become a word. There's a reason there is a tarot card called judgment. Judgment as a word has become a bad thing. And yeah, look at the shoes that they're wearing. They've really left the house dressed like that. That's judgment. That's also, what the hell are you talking about? You've got no idea what their background is, the morning that they've had. For all you know, they've just got out of a car crash, but there is a spiritual, I'll say thing, because I can't think of the right word, but called discernment. Now, discernment is a form of judgment. And when you're going on what you're saying about people go and look at that and say, no, it's not my problem. Well, if it's not your problem, but you could help, then surely you should go and make it your problem, because you can help. And that's what we're here to do. If we want to look at Christian teachings, Jesus would talk about getting out there and helping people, not just going, oh, well, I'm not affected, so I'm going to stay holy in my corner over here.
Exactly. Yeah, and just taking the ride of the Christian thing, or religious thing, when Adam and Eve fall from heaven, or like when Adam tastes the apple, bites the apple, God says, oh my God, now they have the ability to tell right from wrong. Yeah. And we have to use it right. Yes. We have to use it right, because pretending we don't have it, it's just abstaining yourself from being human. It's just resigning yourself from humanity, from taking your part, from doing what you're here to do, which is recognizing that we're all together in this. Yeah.
So when we're doing readings, I mean, I will try to turn around, and if there's something that I know it's my opinion coming out, I will hold my hand up and go, this is my opinion, or the cards, I'm seeing the cards are saying this. I happen to agree with it. I happen to believe in it. Maybe I've got a filter going on. Let me explore what other possible symbolisms we can see here. But you have to be honest with a client, or more to the point with an audience, because I think we've decided, haven't we, that it's a little easier to try and keep your bias or your politics or what have you under control, which as readers we have a responsibility to do. There's a certain amount of professionalism, like a counselor would do. A counselor, yes, will sit without judgment, but they will still use discernment, because if they think that you're going to go out and hurt somebody, they will report that to the authorities. That's part of their professionalism. But otherwise, yeah, you've done a bad thing. Okay, you've done a bad thing. Where are we moving on from here? Now that you've done it, now that it's over and done with, let's find a good thing to do. But as readers, we have to try and keep our own opinions and our own biases. Even how I was discussing the vaccine anti-vax, I have found myself out in the world sticking up for anti-vaxxers. I hate it. But they have a right to take that attitude. I want to challenge them about their attitude, but they have the right to have that attitude. And so I'm not going to sit, well, I am going to sit here and say everybody take the vaccine, but it's not my role to tell them one way or another, to tell them to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. It's my role to get them to examine their decision-making process, and are they doing it based on facts? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with, they have the right to say what they want to say. The thing is, and I think I wrote that in a post last week or something, when opinions, or better, not just opinions, but lies are being spread as opinions,
Yes.
that is dangerous. Just lies, hate, and that is being spread, and that is being shared, and it does pump up the algorithm, and so it's like really goes really around. When that is being shared just as a different opinion, that cannot go unchecked. That is and that is where this it's the I don't remember his name, the paradox of tolerance,
Yeah.
where you cannot be tolerant with those who are intolerant.
Yeah.
So there's tolerance just goes to a certain extent. And how do you deal with that? And how do you? I do agree. I don't know if I'm getting off track here, but I do I do agree what you said, that people are free to say what they believe and to share their opinions. But the thing is, when you are purposefully spreading a lie, and yeah, and you don't know what is truth and lie anymore, and what, and you're not using your discernment.
It's not always purposefully, is it?
True. And then you have to go to, where did this come from?
Yes.
Which is what I do, and you inevitably find very dark places where those things come from. Inevitably find like a YouTube channel that shares racist, homophobic ideas, or a blog or a news website that is sharing lies after lies and very dark stuff. But people don't do that work. They just, this resonates with the truth that I want to see, and so I'm going to share it. I have seen recently, I think it was last week or something, somebody shared the petition, and then somebody said, okay, but this is not just against, it was a petition against vaccination.
Yeah.
Oh, but this is not, and somebody said, okay, but this is not just for COVID vaccination. This is a petition against all vaccines. And then the person, but I still agree with I still agree with the petition against the COVID vaccination. So I'm just going to share it. And so what they were doing was, okay, I understand this is not, there is a part of this that I don't agree with, but still I'm going to share it because it has a little part that I agree with. And this is people are really desperate to I don't know, to be heard, to feel like they're a part of something. That is another thing, but I'm going there.
Well, I mean,
later.
in a way, that's fair enough, because we all want to feel heard, but it's when it's on a sound basis. I mean, from a scientist will be able to say, we have proved this, we haven't proved this, and this bit we don't know because we haven't got enough information one way or another, so we've got no idea whether we can prove it or not. And as it stands, we've got nothing to prove it and nothing to disprove it. But when people are using platforms where they are ideally espousing some form of spirituality, which is what tarot does, which is what astrology does, the Dilogan, tea leaves even, you're assuming the presence, if not the intervention, of higher powers, higher forces, which again, there is a fundamental concept there that these higher forces are there. But people it's turned into a commodity So there's an element of discernment being taken away there. And then there's people are using it as a vehicle. For instance, the shape-shifting reptilians is a conspiracy theory that's a hop, skip, and a jump away from anti-Semitism. However, the whole discussion around anti-Semitism has also been seen to be used by right-wing elements as a way to silence people who are speaking out against Palestinian oppression. And they're saying, oh, by speaking out against this, you're being anti-Semitic. So whatever argument is being put forward to you needs to be taken to pieces and examined, and where is it from, and what is it saying, and what facts is it based on? And then when you are coming from a point of spirituality, you don't necessarily have that foundation. Where is it from? Oh, well, it's from the Archangel Michael. It's from the Palladians. It's from ancient Hellenistic texts. Astrology in and of itself is a cultural thing. The transits, the planets in signs and houses is always interpreted by the culture of its time. Can any of us, me included, have the arrogance to turn around and say that this that these transits are indicating the vaccine is wrong or the vaccine is right? We can see that under the cloak of COVID, there are various power grabs going on. That does not mean that the vaccine is wrong. We would see that Capricorn element of the holding on to power coming forward, which is on both sides. Again, it's, are you using your sovereignty? Are you using your discernment? And it's like, I have an issue with modern schools that I don't think that enough critical thinking is being taught, but the same thing is endemic amongst the whole astrology community, or astrology community online. Let's be fair. You know, I'm not going to condemn all astrologers, but and the New Age community and self-development community, there's self-development and then there's political agendas. And it's a fine line we've got to walk. So when all of these teachers are saying what they're saying, they're human beings. They're going to have opinions, biases, trauma. You know, there's some readers I've heard online where I've heard their style of reading and I've gone, oh God, what's happened to you? You know, because you can hear that jadedness coming through, or that hurt coming through. I've talked long enough. Do you want to say something, Barbara? Sorry, I got on a rant.
It's okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about how this type of situations of the moment that we're living since March 2020, when the pandemic hit, it's something that turned our lives upside down in such a way, in such an intense way. Our whole sense of security, predictability, and you know, just this notion. I know how this goes. This was all taken away, and that has left us in a very vulnerable position, in a position where we feel, and I want to touch several things with this. I'm just building on, and this was more to myself, to not forget. But until it has left us in a very vulnerable position where we are like babies again. We just don't know, and we need somebody to reassure us that everything's going to be okay. You know, there was this thing, at least here in Portugal, it was like everybody was, kids were drawing rainbows and putting the drawings on the window, like everything's going to be okay, you know. And maybe not, but we need that reassurance, and we need, when we do not feel adult enough to assure ourselves, we are going to look for other adults who seem like they have it together to reassure ourselves. And so it's not necessarily who is telling the truth or who is being, and when the scientists, you were talking about the science, when the scientists say, okay, this is what we've got, this is what we don't know, this is what we're working on, these are our doubts. People don't want to hear that. Wow, how you don't know, how you're not sure. People want to hear, this is going to cure you. This, we are absolutely certain. And if somebody comes, and usually they're not the right person, because the right person, the honest person, is going to say, I have doubts. I also don't know the answer. I'm working on it, but those are not the people that someone who is vulnerable wants to hear to. And they're going to hear to the other guy who's saying, don't listen to them, don't take the vaccine, you're better off without that vaccine, trust me, I know what I'm saying, Oh, this one knows what he's saying. Now I trust him. And if you're awakening also rebellious feelings, people see the corporations, the big corporations are the bad guys, the media, the whole thing with the lies, the fear being spread by the media. Yeah, they're not heroes, they're not the best people, but who is saying that? Have you actually looked to who is accusing the media of spreading fear? What are they doing? That puts things, so this vulnerable position where we were all put in since the pandemic hit, that puts things in such intense way that we're all going to look for safety in our own ways. For me, for example, it's like, okay, I'm going to be the perfect citizen, and okay, I have to wear a mask, I have to wear gloves, I have to wash my hands with alcohol. I then I get easier on things, but in the beginning, that's my reaction. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be, Other people are going to, no. My younger brother, who's a bit like cowboy style. Yeah, the virus. I don't believe in that, and what yeah, and that's going to hit people in different ways. But people are going to react emotional. I think that's where I was getting it. People are, when something is so intense and pushes our security, our safety buttons, our sense of again security, predictability in such a way, we are all going to be very reactive, and we're going to react in the ways the same way we would react to mother when we were kids, and then and it just becomes so intense and so unrational. I don't know if that's a word, but like it's not conscious, it's not rational. It's just, it comes from a very survival place. Sorry?
Knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. And when you're there, it's really difficult to reason with people. And so people tend to look for their tribes. Who is validating my reaction? Who is validating my emotional state? My, like, I want to fight this. I want to fight the media. I want to fight the government. Who is validating that? Oh, I'm going to take the vaccine. I'm going to be a good girl. Who is validating that? And and that is understandable. The thing is, if you keep being there and you lose sight and you lose your discernment, and you do not use your judgment to actually evaluate things and to look, where is this coming from? Where is the government's coercion to, because nobody's obligated to take a vaccine. That is not a thing, but there is a coercion. But where does that come from? Where does the anti-vaxxers, I don't want to say movement, but where the news, the propaganda, where does that come from? That is where the discernment enters, and that's what you should be doing by now. I mean, already before, but by now would be good.
Yeah, there's so much to say on that, because what you're saying is our natural propensity for things to be black and white, and they are not. There are shades of grey all along. Like I say, I'm pro-vaccine, but I also want to know that the vaccine works, that it is effective, that it doesn't have. And the moment when if someone is putting up a question, hang on a minute, is this safe? Is this effective? Is it doing what it says in the tin? The pro-vaccine crowd immediately go, you're an anti-vaxxer. No, that's a valid question. However, it's the best we've got. Therefore, is it worth the risk? And that's where you're using your sovereignty. Is the risk I am taking by taking the vaccine outweighed by the risk I pose to vulnerable people in society, elderly people in society, my nearest and dearest and loved ones in society, and myself? Which risk is the scarier one? Which risk is the more dangerous one? The problem is partly it's an invisible enemy. We can't see the virus. There was a cartoon I saw on Facebook the other day, 2 dinosaurs sat having a cigarette round a campfire, and one of them saying, well, to be honest, I think asteroids are a liberal hoax. And
I think have you seen
Sorry.
There's this movie on Netflix, Don't Look Up.
Yes, I hear good things and bad things about the movie, but
sorry, it's actually a metaphor for climate crisis, but it could perfectly be a metaphor for the pandemic as well. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. If we could see it, then we'd have, when people are saying they're having their sovereignty taken away by being forced to take the vaccine, that's like saying that you have in my opinion, this is a natural thing that's happening. Whether it came from a lab or not, I don't care where it's from. It's in the natural world now, and it is happening now. So whether people say, oh, it's unnatural and what have you because of where it's from, so what? We've still got to deal with it. But it's like saying your sovereignty is being taken away from you by, when you're caught in the rain, you want to shelter under something or put an umbrella up. And I'm sorry, if rocks were falling from the sky, my sovereignty to go out and take a walk is being taken away from me, because I'm going to go into a building or I'm going to go into a cave where I'm safe from having rocks land on my head. Anyway, we're talking about the topical issues right now of what's going on in the news. We could transpose this discussion back to climate change in the 90s if we wanted to. But as readers, me with the tarot and learning the astrology, you with the astrology side of it, what responsibility do we have within the reading for clients, or especially for audiences, to make sure that, yes, we're channeling the divine woo-woo, as I would call it, but not imprinting our own biases, beliefs. How do you think as readers we could actually avoid some of this black and white trap that modern society gives us?
Yeah, in a reading, it's about the person, and the person is not necessarily the client, and the client is not necessarily bringing you their problems about should I or should I not be anti-vaxxer. Or actually I had one client, it was a long-term client, so and we're quite at ease with each other, and they asked me if, oh, I'm supposed to take the vaccine, but I'm not sure. Tell me what you think. And so there she was asking me directly, what do I think about it? And I said what I thought about it. But otherwise, in a reading, people don't usually bring the themes in that way. So it's usually about more personal stuff, and that may come across only as a tangent, whether the person is vaccinated or not, whether the person is going to or thinking about engaging in a political movement to throw the government or something like that. But it's not the thing, you know, and I can actually we're talking about another depth, a very personal realm, very personal context, and it's easy for me to, and I'm talking about myself. It's easy for me in the reading to keep my political views, social perspective out of it. Maybe not so much my personal traumas, although if I'm if I have worked over the things, then it's easier. If they are very fresh or so, then inevitably I'm gonna maybe identify with something, and
yeah. Should I say with my husband? No, they're all evil. Get rid of the lot.
Yeah, I might try to. I might try to.
Different, but
I might try to understand. Okay, is there any manipulative things going on? You know, I might make some couple of questions to. But yeah, it's easier in the reading. When I read, when I write, and I write every month about the new moon and the chart of the new moon, and when I write every month, I'm writing to, you know, such an abstract audience. I was going to say wide, but it's not that wide. But an abstract is the word. To such an abstract audience that, and also it's inevitable that my issues come through, although I will address them in an abstract way. And so but there is more difficult to stay away, to be totally neutral, like there's nothing happening, you know, because it's like, don't look at the elephant, you know, like, oh the elephant, what elephant? Everybody's going to be looking for the elephant. So it's there, and I'm inevitably going to be talking about it. But usually there's one paragraph that I pose a few questions, you know, like and I try to awake that discernment we were talking about more than anything. Of course, with my own perspective, my own perspective is inevitable, and I don't think, for me, more than making an effort to stay neutral when you can't, is to be honest about where you stand.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm now that we're talking about it, I don't know if I'm doing that enough to be like clear about where I stand. But yes, it's for me, it's about that. It's just, don't pretend to be neutral when you're not. Just be clear about where you stand. There is, I don't know if you want to say something about it. Just wanted to add.
No, go
something.
on.
There is a phrase in that Brazilians use to have political and social discussions, which is place of speech. And I think they did not invent that. It comes from some philosopher or activist in America. But this notion of place of speech, it's like, I am talking from this place. So if I'm talking about racism, I don't know exactly what is going through racism, because my experience with racism might have been like a couple of episodes while I was in Germany. And so I can only talk about racism from my perspective, but I have to own my perspective.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about, I don't know the word, sexism, because there's another word in Portuguese. But if I'm talking about sexism, then I can talk about sexism from my woman perspective and what it's like to not be taken serious because you're a woman. And I have a couple of, and that is the thing. And I was thinking about also about, especially in Brazil, they have a couple of news collectives where these collectives have very clear perspectives on society, and that is present. They do not pretend to be neutral when they are not. So this is where we come from. This is our place of speech, and this is what we have to say about it. So that is for me the key. Just don't pretend to be neutral when you're not.
Yes, now that's where I agree with you, because I've lost very much faith in the BBC over recent years on their portrayals of numerous issues, and Israel and Palestine being one of them. I believe in the idea of the pure journalist, the journalist that says, here's the facts. Here's the effects that these facts are having. This person is happy and has lots of money. These people are suffering. This is good for the environment. That is bad for the environment. And showing that there are only really shades of grey. There is not a black and white. But for news collectives, take in the States, Fox News on one side, the Young Turks on the other side. Because I'm not going to say MSNBC because they're as corporate as the rest of them. They just pretend they're not. And there's my opinion, folks. But the Young Turks are at least honest with saying we're coming from this liberal background.
Exactly.
And Fox News are Fox News. So everybody knows what they are, So the idea of the unbiased journalist is an important thing. The idea of the unbiased counsellor or the non-judgmental counsellor but a counsellor is not non-judgmental, because a counsellor will turn round to you and say, hang on a minute, have you heard that line of reasoning you've just given to yourself?
Yeah.
Can we just follow that through logically? Because from my point of view here, I judge that logic is flawed, and I would like you to check it. I
mean, just the simple things. I don't know if you're going to say something.
No.
I was asking, how many times have I interrupted a client when they say, oh, I know this is stupid, but I'm like, no, it's not stupid. It's your feelings you're talking about. Feeling whatever it is, just acknowledging whatever emotion is present is not stupid. I might be, it was my fault that he did this to me. Okay, wait a minute. He did that to you. He did that to you. How is it fault?
Yeah.
And just deconstructing, just tearing apart some just automatic phrases and things. And for that you need judgment. For that you need discernment. Otherwise you'd just be there listening or not listening and just talking. Okay, what I see in the chart is this. The transits are that. But that is not how I see counseling. And I more than therapy. I don't think I do therapy, but I do counseling with astrology. And you can't put your judgment completely aside. Maybe you can put your bias aside. That is two different things.
I mean, just on that note that you were saying of having a client saying to you, it's stupid, but I feel such and such. Now, the fact is that statement may be stupid in and of itself, because no, they are feeling that thing and that feeling needs to be validated. Or it may also be that they're totally telling the truth, and the fact that position A has created feeling B and that chain is stupid. Yes, it is. But you're absolutely right. It's stupid to react that way to that thing. But let's have a look why that process is happening, so that if you've got the rationality or intellectual perspectives to go, I can see that that's stupid. Me feeling that is stupid. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But why are you still feeling it then? And being able to unpick which bit of it is allowing the stupidity to overcome something that you can rationally figure out is ridiculous. So
Yeah,
there's two ways you can take that statement, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm always, and this is maybe my bias, I always respect emotions, and so emotions, okay, they are there. Let's acknowledge them. Let's just recognize them. And I'm getting green because the sunlight
no,
is
I've got
gone.
lighting problems. They'll probably turn orange.
But and so emotions are, for me, are like they're you have to recognize them and not and validate them, and that is the first thing that makes a person feel seen. You know, like, okay, yes, you were angry. You don't understand why you were angry, and that's why you're saying it's stupid, but I'm feeling angry. But if you're feeling angry, let's just, okay, acknowledge and respect that feeling, and examine it. Try to understand, where is it coming from? Is it the first time you're angry with this? You know, et cetera, whatever.
Yes,
but
that's the point. It's pick it apart, isn't it? Because if I go out on the street and Eric says to me something that makes me angry, but it's because it's reminding me of something my grandfather said to me when I was 3 years old. Yes, it is stupid that I'm angry at Eric, but it's not stupid that I'm angry about what my grandfather said. And so if we can unpick that and go, I've got this feeling, it needs working on, it needs investigating, it needs sorting out. So yes, you're right. But let's face it, how many times do we have emotions where we have this emotion and we're angry at someone, and you pick it apart and your rational mind is going, it's stupid that I'm feeling like this. And you pick it apart and you go, yes, it is stupid that I'm feeling like this at this person, because it's this person from so long ago that I'm actually angry about.
I was just telling you before about this situation with a friend, and then at the end I'm just feeling triggered because it reminds me emotionally of some things I have going on with had going on with my mom. And but the thing is, I can also, even if I understand it's not logic that I'm having these feelings toward my friend, because it has actually nothing to do with her, it has to do with something from my childhood. But if their reaction, if their attitudes are so triggering to me, and then I also have the right to, we're going on such a tangent here.
I know. I'll bring it back in a moment, I promise.
Okay. But the thing is, I have the right, and that is also, we're talking about judgment. This is also judgment. And so where I was getting at is, I have the right to say, I choose not to deal with my friend because I cannot handle the emotions that are being awakened by the situation, by their attitude. And so that is also judgment. That is also discernment. Like, not that I could lash out on my friend, but I choose not to. And that is discernment. You know, this is not with them. This is with me and something else and my background. But I cannot deal with the emotions that are being brought up, and so I choose not to hang with them, not to talk with them, and that works fine for me. So and that is also judgment. It comes from maybe an emotional bias, a traumatic bias. Hi. but yeah, it implies a certain amount of judgment to make the right decision for you and for the whole, like the most ecological decision.
And at that moment in time, because like you were saying, just to take that example that you were saying, I choose not to deal with this friend right now because this friend brings up emotions that has actually nothing to do with them, but it's to do with something that I have not yet had the opportunity or inclination, whichever, to pick apart and solve. And I can deal with that friend when I've sorted this out. And I will get to this, whether my friend is a reflection to me to say, you need to sort that out now. That's the client's or your decision to make at that precise moment in time. And you can say, I am ready, or hang on a minute, I've got some other stuff to do first. You know, so there's the one thing that I think, to bring it back together, because we've been talking for a while, about an hour. So to bring it back together, it's not even what I think is a responsibility for a reader, although I do think this, whether it is an astrologer or a tarot reader or what have you, or whether it's a public content creator, or whether it's, well, a scientist would agree with this anyway. Question what you say, question what you hear, question where what you are hearing is from, whether it's from inside of you or from outside of you. We have that responsibility to question. Would you say that could help keep us on the straight and narrow?
I would add, I totally agree. And I would add, be honest where you're coming from, about where you're coming from.
Hmm. So that's for the people with an audience.
Sorry?
Would you say that's for the people with an audience, or that's for just everybody full stop?
For everybody, actually. But talking about astrology, tarot, I try to be as clear in my in the page and about me in my website and about the consultation, so about what I can offer and where I'm coming from, so that people know what to expect, you know. So the more neutral I would try to be, maybe this is not if I would try to seem neutral, like I'm ready to attend anybody, I'm ready to give readings to just anybody, maybe I wouldn't be doing my best service to everybody, you know. I don't know, was that clear? So question, yeah. But also be honest about where you're coming from.
Now, that is a wonderful segue to us conclude, because yes, question and be honest where you're coming from. There's the conclusion. We got there. Now, so, okay, Barbara, where do you come from and what are you offering? What is, you have a workshop coming up.
Yeah, I think it's on the 30th of January with AFAN. So it's free for AFAN members, and I think it's open only to AFAN members, about a procrastination, which is something I'm really I really like, and it really speaks to me, and I use every time in my consultations.
So we'll be looking at the progressed moon in its different phases and in its sign changes throughout the progressed chart.
Yeah, I'm going to give a couple of examples as well. And it's really, yeah, I think it's really, it's something, as I was telling you before, it's something I didn't always use, especially in my beginning years. But when there was a point there when I really understood it, oh my God, this is so big. And then I began using it in every consultation, and I really like it. Where I don't know. So I answered your bit about what is coming up next.
And are you taking on personal readings?
Yeah, yes, I am. I have my website in English finally since like a couple of weeks. Yay! And it's really easy. Just go to the website and click consultation, choose the time you want, and you're redirected to my calendar, and you can schedule immediately.
So all the links for Barbara's website and for the AFAN workshop will be in the description down below. If you've stuck this long with us, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope we have given you no answers whatsoever and 1,000 questions. And may you only ever get to question, because the moment you know an answer, you're going to be wrong somewhere. So like, share, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And we will see you soon and wish you Happy New Year. Cheers. And thanks for coming, Barbara.
Thank you.